Hello YouTube, how are you? Today we're going to do perch fillets the way that I do them. This applies to any white fish that you might have a fillet with, and you can do that with all white fish. I prefer it with perch or maybe walleye. Any one of those would do. So I'll show you the process of what I go through. So we'll need a few things to start off. We're going to need some breadcrumbs, black pepper, salt. I use Old Bay seasoning, but that is optional. Well, depending on how many fish you have, you might want to have 2 to 3 eggs available. Obviously all of your fillets. We're going to have some flour, a mixing bowl of some sort, and then of course we're going to get some breadcrumbs as well. So what I'll do is I'm going to start off with the eggs themselves, and I'll show you what I do. So I crack the eggs, the full egg, into a bowl of my choosing. Today I'm going to do 3 eggs. We're going to make sure that nothing other than the egg yolks and the whites fall in there. And of course we have a little bit of something that fell in there. There we go. I'm going to get that little piece out, a little bit of the shell. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is take salt and pepper. I'm going to put salt and pepper into it. So I'm going to crush the pepper right over it. You can be liberal with the pepper. It's not going to overpower the taste or anything like that. And I'm going to do a little bit of salt. I don't like too much salt myself, but I mean, you can do whatever level you choose. And then Old Bay seasoning. I put some of that in there. There we go. And then what I do is I take a whisk or something to mix with, and I break it, and I mix it. I mix it very well. Once it's thoroughly mixed, it should look something like that. And then that portion of the job is ready. And now what I do is I take a little bit of a paper towel or Scott towel, and I end up taking the fish. And after rinsing the fish and having the fish prepped, I just lightly take the moisture out of it. Some of it might stick, but that's okay. I just lightly take it out. I don't want to take out too much of it, because if I take too much of it out, then we're not going to be able to have the flour stick to it. So I flip them over, do the other side very lightly. Now some of you might be asking in the comment sections what type of perch this is. This is yellow perch, but it applies to any white fish fillet. I don't recommend this with trout or salmon or any of that, but this definitely goes great with white fish. And that's what it should look like. It should look a little bit dull, not as shiny. Then you know it's right. And what we'll do now is we'll take these little fillets, and we're gonna zoom in on the flour itself. We're gonna take it, pat it gently down, flip it over, pat it gently down. Put that one to the side, get a few more in there, pat them down, flip it over. Those ones are ready. Pat them down, flip them over. And then just repeat the process with pretty much all of them. This gets the flour evenly on the entire fillet. You don't need to go heavy. If you see that the flour is sticking too heavy, then chances are that the fish itself is still a little bit too wet or has too much moisture on it. You might want to pat it down a little bit more. If you have too much of it, you might get a little bit of clunkiness from the flour on the actual fish. Some like it, some don't. I prefer it this way. And that takes care of all of those fish. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the egg and the breading portion of this job. So what we do is we take the fish, just lightly dunk it in, pull it out, dunk it in, pull it out, just enough so that it's covered like that with the egg yolks. And we'll put it right into the breadcrumb tray. And we let that egg soak in with the breadcrumbs. And then that's the finished product there. That's what it looks like. That consistency right there. So I'll go through some of the rest of these as well. When you're doing this, just be careful so you don't take off any of the flour that's on there. That's part of the taste. That's piece number 2. Flip them over. And then once in a while I shake this plate up a little bit just to get everything even on there. It makes life easier. It's a real quick and easy recipe and is absolutely delicious. What I do is I use butter to fry it, not oil, because it develops a very specific taste with the butter when it's fried with butter as opposed to oil. And you're gonna love it. It's gonna be absolutely tasty. I want you guys to comment if you try this at home, if you like this type of recipe. Comment on it and let me know in the comments below what your rating is. I want a 1 out of 10. And it's okay if you don't like it, as long as you comment and let me know if I should do more of these. And of course, your hands are going to be sticky, so I'll end up cleaning my hands just before we end up doing that. But first, I'm going to turn on the heat for the frying pan, and the camera's going to come over here and have a look at it a little bit closer while I wash my hands. So what I did over here is I got these fillets that we just completed. I got myself a clean plate, and I've got butter on the actual skillet. I pre-melted some of it right now, so there's a little bit of melt on there, which is great. And I have more butter here just to spare, just in case I need to add, which I probably will because it does soak up a little bit of the butter. So as we wait for that to heat up, we give it a minute or two. Heat it up. I start with high heat and then I drop it down to low. That way at least we know that that we can get going on this quicker. So again, it's a little bit quicker on this video because I already preheated the pan a little bit. So for you, it'll take an extra minute or two. And once you start seeing the sizzling here, like that, you can turn the heat down to about medium, more or less, maybe 1 notch above medium. And you can put the fish in and start frying them. Now it won't take long to fry. still needs a little bit extra heat. And extra butter I'm going to put in here. Because it is going to soak that butter up. But it is going to taste delicious. So I'll split this one up into 2 different batches. One batch is going to be 4 and another batch for the remainder of them. And then what I'll end up doing is I'll show you what I do towards the end, which is kind of nice to do as well as a little side treat. That'll be at the end of the video, so watch to the end and I'll show you a little side treat, little trick that I do at the end. It goes great with the rest of the meal. I also took a Scott towel or a paper towel and I put it on a separate plate. It's ready to go on the side, so when these are ready I'll be able to flip them over. So as you see, they're starting to go and this butter is starting to melt really nice. You want that fried butter taste in them. I'm moving them around so they don't stick to the pan too much. And now I'm lowering the heat just a little bit, about 1 notch above medium, and I'm letting them heat up. Now, I'm purposely not putting on the hood fan so that it doesn't create too much noise in the video, so that way you guys can hear me clearly and you can hear the nice appetizing sizzle of the fish as you're cooking it. So what we're looking for is we're looking for that nice golden brown coloring on the other side. We'll be able to see that once we rotate it. It's not quite there just yet. It really doesn't take long because, especially with perch, they're small, thin perch. The thicker your fillet, the longer time you're going to need. I just eyeball it based on how cooked the breadcrumbs are and how pale the meat goes when I see it come through. I'm going to cut one more of these just in case in the meantime. Okay, now I'm lowering the heat to medium again. And as I rotate them, you're going to see that nice, crispy, beautiful brown. There we go. That's the type of brown you're looking for. It's really nice. And now I'm dropping the heat as it's coming up. Temperature, I'm dropping the heat to about medium. I don't want it to burn too quickly. So medium heat and the butter is pretty good. I'm going to add a little bit more butter as we go. So for those of you who don't know, it's going to be, for this setup, it's going to be about 3/4 of 1 butter stick. And 1 butter stick, there's 4 to a whole package. So 3/4 of 1 butter stick, for those that want to know how much for this particular cook-up. The butter gives it that extra crispy taste and that very unique taste. Some people like doing it with olive oil or with their oil of choosing. For me, it completely changes the taste when I use butter, and I think you'd like it a lot if you use butter, so give that a try. By the way, I use non-salted butter. If you want to, you can go ahead and put some extra salt on the actual preparation right now if you like more salt or more pepper. I like it done lightly, so I choose to just go with whatever I put into the actual bowl when we mix this. And that's kind of what it looks like on both sides. There we go. And that's pretty much done right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put them on the platter. Now I put a piece of paper towel on here to soak up the rest of the butter. Because what it does is it ends up balancing it out nicely. That way you don't have extra butter. And that's your finished result. I'm going to cook these real quick. These other ones here as well. There's only about 3 of them left. Once we're done with those, then we're gonna go ahead and actually we could do it all at the same time pretty much. I'm gonna show you a little trick. You look at that and I'll show you a little trick in a minute. So what I like to do is I like to take that leftover egg that we do, and I end up putting a little bit of the breadcrumbs in there, if not all of them. So what I do is I dump that in there. And then I mix it. This is the part that I was talking about. I'll show you at the very end. So some of that delicious butter in there. It's a great way to use up all your resources without throwing anything out. Because you do not want to put any of this stuff back into the bread mix, because it's already touched raw fish. So that's one thing you don't want to be doing. But this is a great way to recycle it and to add it to your side plate of your meal. And you can tell this is soaking up the butter here real nice. It's got a nice browny golden look to it. These are almost done. Yeah, almost there. Sometimes you could give them a little bit of a squeeze on the plate like that. You don't want to overdo them. But here they are. That's that. And then I'm going to mix these in just a little bit more. And then I'll end up pulling them out. You can put them on the side or put them on the paper. It's up to you. You can add some greens to it if you like. But there is an absolutely delicious meal right there waiting for you. Thank you.